Yes, yes, yes. So Bad Boys is a movie that released in 1995, directed by Michael Bay, which is an action comedy. So the movie is about these like two detectives who are cops. So you got like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. I'm not gonna say their actual, actual character names, because let's be honest, everyone knows them for, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. So I'm not gonna say their character names. And they're essentially trying to catch like criminals that stole drugs from the police department. You also have like another main character in this film called Julie, played by Tia Leone. Yeah, I've never heard of her before. And obviously you have this character of Julie witness a murder, right? And now essentially the murderers or whatever criminals are trying to catch her now. The criminals that stole the drugs from the police department. Then you have like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence trying to protect this, character Julie from these criminals. So I mean, first off, yeah, if you haven't heard of Bad Boys, yeah, there's something wrong with you, like literally. Because I mean, this movie came out in like 1995 in it, so it's been out for a long time now. It's one of those films that I'm pretty sure you've seen, everyone's seen. But it's still, it's still looked upon as like a classic and a watchable movie even until, today. And if you know a lot about the director, Michael Bay, he likes to, put a lot of explosions in movies like Transformers. He did most of the Transformers movies, which is why you see a lot of explosions. And if you watch like the Bad Boys 1 movie, there's a lot of like explosions, same as in Transformers, where he likes to just always add that. I don't know why, but for me, it's not really, something that I like to see a lot, but to be honest, I don't really mind. But it's something that a lot of action movies nowadays, not nowadays, but back in the day, they used to all add like explosions. So to be honest, it's nothing really too deep, to be honest, but so straight from the beginning, these characters was funny as hell. Like I remember at the start, like you have this interaction with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence's character, and from the start, you already know what type of film you're going to be getting. You see these, people interact with each other, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence's character, and you can really tell the duo and how, they already connect as characters, and you really like, I feel like you really connect with them from the start because it's almost like you're friends and, all having a laugh and stuff, so you can kind of like get with the vibe from pretty much as soon as the movie starts. They really like sold it for me. I feel like without these two characters, to me, like Bad Boys would just be like a mediocre film. But to be honest, since they're in it, they really add that sort of title to it. They make it what it is. I also like the character Julie as well. Like she's like a nice addition to the film. Like she's like the in-between. She's like in the middle of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith's character. She has that sort of seriousness to it, but also has the comedic effect to it, which is also good as well. Because, I like comedy back in the day more so. But nowadays, comedy isn't as great anymore. But back then, it was really good. And I feel like in this movie, like the comedy landed for me. I wouldn't say this film was like mainly action. I'd say it's more so comedy, but it has action in it. I guess if you want to say that, action counts as explosions, people shooting each other, then I guess, yeah, fair enough. But to me, when I think of like, action movies, I think more so like Fast 5, Expendables, or even like Transporter 2, which is definitely like a centered action piece. Oh yeah, the villains in this are goofy as hell. Like literally, they're so goofy, but like, I feel like it's still funny though. Since it's a comedy, you can't really take them too seriously. And usually with action comedies, you usually have like those sort of jokey, villain characters that you can't really take seriously. But I still feel like regardless if you could take them seriously or not, they still added that sort of comedic effect to it, which I thought was still funny. The villain was funny. I feel like he did what he needed to do in the film. And he was one of those cliche 90s villain characters that are, taken for a joke, especially back in the day with those action comedies. You have a lot of those, goofy villains that, you don't really take seriously, but there's all a bit of fun at the same time. Yeah, I don't think any character in this film was bad. I think everyone in this movie was good. Like Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, or the person that played Julie, the villains, the side characters. I feel like all the characters were good. I don't think there was one bad character that I looked at and thought, yeah, this is bad, you know what I mean? Because end of the day as well, I feel like back then there's a lot of talent when it came to acting. I know this movie was in the 90s in it, so you get that sort of 90s music. So I actually thought the music in this film was really good. It kind of matched what you would expect from like a 90s film, so it didn't feel out of place. Like sometimes you get those films where it's like you get those like weird music that it doesn't match the film itself, but I feel like in this movie, every music you hear in this movie, it literally, it's what you would expect from a 90s, movie. Yeah, even the dialogue was great as well. Like there was no corniness, there was a lot of swearing as well, which I think makes sense, and I feel like it works. Like I don't think you can call a movie Bad Boys if there's no swearing at all. So I feel like it being, having like a lot of swear words and, having those sort of dialogues between, each other, it made the movie more comedic. I feel like if there wasn't any like swearing or anything like that, it would just been like in my opinion, like a corny movie. But I feel like because there was like a lot of swearing, it kind of added to that comedic effect, which I think made the film so much more better. And even though this movie doesn't really necessarily appeal to me, I do still respect the fact that Bad Boys is a great movie. You know, you do have great characters and you do have, you know, good dynamics between, you know, two characters. Like, that's something I definitely can respect. If I'm being honest, I prefer Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan's duo in Rush Hour. More nostalgia for me personally, so I think that's why I appeal more to those movies. But I still feel like this, you know, movie still delivers as like a 90s action comedy. That's also a classic for sure. You know, for a 90s film, the visuals look pretty decent. I'm not going to judge based on, you know, the visuals because it looks good enough to, you know, its time. And like I said before, obviously it's a Michael Bay movie, so you're gonna expect to see a lot of like explosions and a lot of I guess dramatic scenes and stuff. You also get these like shots where, you know, when someone dies and you get this sort of like dramatic death, which doesn't really, you know, appeal to me personally. End of the day, whatever, you know, what can you expect from like a, you know, 90s, you know, movie? So yeah. Like whenever I go into these like type of old movies, I always expect to see a little of like corniness in terms of the way they, you know, deliver stuff or do things. But that was like a minor thing for me. It wasn't that big of a deal. I still feel like it didn't take anything away from the film. The pacing at times can feel a bit slow, but I feel like because you have like good chemistry between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith's character, I feel like they help make the pacing durable or, you know, acceptable, because the dialogue between each other, it kind of like gets rid of the dead space. So it kind of makes you almost forget that the pacing is, you know, going really slow. It makes you almost forget about the pacing and more focus on the characters themselves. And like I said before, Julie also like added that addition to, you know, the dialogue between, you know, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Like all of them together, all three together, I really thought were great. Like if I was to give the comedy out of 10, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10, or maybe an 8 out of 10, because to be honest, it was really funny in it. So yeah, that's definitely one of the highlights for me, was a comedy. The action, like I said before, I don't consider it action. I consider it more a comedy with a bit of action in it. If I was to rank that out of 10, I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 10, because it wasn't really an action movie. So I don't know, it's just for me personally, it just didn't really appeal to me in terms of, you know, the action itself. Because they're not really punching people. You get a bit of that, but it's mainly, you know, shooting, explosions, shooting. But yeah, man, that's what I have to say about this movie. Like, it's literally one of those cliche action comedies, but it still stands out as a great movie and a classic that's, you know, in the 90s and lives up to even the present time. But if you like this video, like, subscribe, let me know what you thought about this movie. And I'm going to be talking about also the other movies, number 2, number 3, and number 4 that's coming out this week as well. I'm also going to be doing a ranking as well. I'm ranking all of them to see which one I thought was the best, which one I thought was the worst. But yeah, man, that's it really. Bye.